Alright, welcome to the Freedom to Draw Unsolved Mysteries. I'm your host, John. I am the leader of the Freedom to Draw Caricatures Party. This was the last episode, and this concludes Missing Person Week. This is Robert Barron, and this is the finished picture of what he looks like. If you want to check out his case, go to the last episode. Now, today is December, and we started off with something new. It's a final appeal section. 116 people in the USA have been freed from death row. 1 in 9 prisoners are on death row and innocent. In 3 decades, the percent is 4.1%. That's kind of scary percentage. So, in that light, we are going to draw a death row inmate of Pennsylvania. Now, we're not saying he's innocent or guilty. We're just going to draw him. And his name happens to be Eric Frein. And he is waiting. His current status is he is waiting to be executed in State Correctional Institution of Phoenix, which is in Pennsylvania. It's a state correctional institution. The death penalty is currently at a moratorium, which is a fancy way of Governor Wolf saying that we're going to put it on hold and we really don't know what to do with this guy. So the death penalty is recently getting bad reviews. So, and a lot of states are doing this. They're just putting these inmates who are sentenced to death, they're basically putting them on hold, pressing the pause button. I am neither pro or against the death penalty. There are certain people that do deserve it. Out there's definitely people that deserve it. The last person to be executed was a guy who definitely deserved it. Just by looking at what he did, Gary Heidnick was executed in Pennsylvania in 1999 for the brutal deaths of 2 women that he kept locked down in his basement. Now, I haven't really researched that case, but if that's true, he definitely, in my opinion, deserved to get fried. Now let's take you into this guy's story a little bit. In the headlines, it read, "Survivalist who killed state trooper to spark a revolution is guilty of murder. Eric Frein evaded a police manhunt for 48 days after killing Brian Dixon with a sniper's rifle in hope of reclaiming his liberties. A man who hid in the forest under the cover of night and opened fire with a sniper's rifle has been convicted of murdering a state police trooper he targeted at random in hopes of sparking a revolution." Now, some people say that was not at random, and he had some kind of personal vendetta with the trooper that he killed. But then also others say that he just had a vendetta against state troopers and law enforcement in general, and he didn't really care which one he hit as long as he hit one of them. I am more leaning towards that than anything. Some people say that he the state trooper that he killed was messing around with his brother's wife. But this is just hearsay. I'm not a police officer or any way, shape, or form. I'm just stating both sides of the case, the things that I've heard, and doing research for this. A jury convicted Eric Frein for the attack at the Blooming Grove State Police Barracks in northeastern Pennsylvania in September of 2014. Corporal Brian Dixon, a married father of two, was killed, and a second trooper was shot through the hips and was left debilitated. Frein was literally hunting humans when he peered at his targets through a scope during the late night shift change and shot 4 times. Pike County District Attorney Ray Tonkin told jurors in his closing argument he called Frein a terrorist who sought to change the government through bullets and bombs. The gunman led authorities on a 48-day manhunt through the rugged Pocono Mountains before U.S. Marshals caught him at an abandoned airplane hangar more than 20 miles from the barracks from where he committed his crime. So it was like a cat and mouse game, basically, for this guy. And doing research on this guy, he really didn't have much of a criminal past. After a 2-week trial that presented uncontested evidence of Frein's guilt, the jury convicted him on all 12 charges, including murder of law enforcement officer, terrorism, and 2 weapons of mass destruction counts related to small explosive devices he left in the woods while eluding capture. Frein, who was 33 at the time, showed no emotion as the verdict was delivered, and he avoided looking at his parents as he was led from the courtroom. The trial moves into a penalty phase, which we know what the penalty was. He got the death penalty. This article is from 2014. That's when he did this act. In 2014. Tonkin said Frein, 33, was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Tonkin said he would be seeking full justice, while defense Bill Russo said he would appeal to jurors to spare Frein's life. Now he has exhausted all his appeals, and this is a final appeal for this man. He awaits to be put to death. And like I said, I'm really just pointing out both sides of this man's story. Does not have a really long rap sheet with criminals in the past, criminal type behavior in the past. Possibly could he have snapped and gone postal, like people like to say, gone postal. This could be a possibility. The verdict was expected after prosecutors presented more than 500 pieces of evidence tying Frein to the ambush. His DNA was found on the trigger of the murder weapon, and police recovered several handwritten notebook pages at his campsite in which he described the attack as his subsequent escape into the woods in chilling detail, writing how he shot Dixon twice and watched him fall, still and quiet. Tonkin called Frein a terrorist with murder in his heart, a plan in his mind, and a rifle in his hand. Frein shot Dixon in the chest and through the shoulders and spine, and then waited nearly 90 seconds until Trooper Alex Douglas came to Dixon's aid and then shot him too, Tonkin said. Police linked Frein to the ambush after a man walking his dog discovered his partially submerged vehicle 3 days later in a swamp a few miles from the shooting scene. Inside, investigators found shell casings matching those found at the barracks and Frein's driver's license. So this guy definitely did plan this out. He even wrote a journal about it. So he is kind of a sick individual. The discovery sparked a manhunt that involved 1,000 law enforcement officials and spanned more than 300 square miles. The dragnet shut down schools and roads and hurt businesses in the mountainous region, which leans heavily on tourism. At times, police ordered residents to stay inside or prevented them from returning home as they pursued tips and supposed sightings. He disrupted a lot of people's lives, reports say. Frein spent more than a month hiding out at a hangar, using a laptop and pilfering Wi-Fi to follow the news of the search. He also worked on a letter to his parents, writing that only passing through the crucible of another revolution can get us back to liberties we once had. Frein added, tension is high and at the moment, and the time seems right for a spark to ignite fire in the hearts of men. What I have done has not been done before, and it felt like it was worth a try. Definitely had sick motives for this crime. A death sentence will send Frein to death row, but the state has a moratorium on executions under Democratic Governor Tom Wolf. The state's last execution was in 1999, and it has executed only 3 people since U.S. Supreme Court restored the death penalty in 1976. Wolf applauded the verdict, but this did not address Frein's sentence. Today, justice was served, and a brutal murderer will be held accountable for his heinous and cowardly acts against members of Pennsylvania State Police, he said in a statement. But now, Governor Wolf's term is almost at an end. We have a new guy called Josh Shapiro. We'll see what he does with this guy. Currently, he's just basically on hold, waiting to die. This pretty much a sketch of what he looks like, true believers. My assessment of this guy is he's probably guilty and deserves, I don't know if he deserves to be put to death, but definitely, without a doubt, deserves to be a life in prison sentence with no possibility of parole. Definitely. We can't have a demented individual like this roaming the streets anymore, especially since he planned the whole thing and kept a journal of it. Pretty sick. Alright, true believers, that pretty much does it for this episode. Peace out.